welcome to Amanda's Playbook. We've come full circle, Daniel. It's so fun to be here with you today. So you came to mind actually because I was listening to a podcast that I thought was really interesting, and you came top of mind because I was like, I actually think that of all the people I know, Derek and Daniel, those two brothers would be even more exciting to talk to about this idea of what creates exclusivity. And for context, you can kind of explain a little better, but I started something kind of like a movement in the social scene in New York back when we were young, back in the early...
like yesterday.
Right. Back in the early 2010s?
So 2008 is when we...
Was that big?
Official. Yeah. Literally like the weekend the market crashed and we had the whole financial blow up. That's when we launched our party.
That's how it launched.
But yeah.
Okay. And so you called it Day and Night, and to give a little backstory from where I sit, right? I remember being in New York at that time, and you guys were like, if there's an it girl, you guys were like the it, and you were brothers, and you were very charismatic and social and smart, and you would throw these parties. They were like kind of a new genre of party for the city. They were day parties. You actually called it Day and Night. And from there, they stemmed into, I remember, in the Hamptons, and then like these key locations that were known to be exclusive places around the world. So what I was curious about is like, okay, if we're talking exclusivity, especially today when everybody's trying to do that, whether it's a members club, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a product or service brand, what was it, do you think? Because so many people tried to do what you've done and still do. What do you think were the ingredients looking back that made Day and Night work, not just as a party, but that's something that people really talked about afterwards and like wanted to write about and wanted to name drop about?
Right. So really, you got to have the authenticity, number one. You know, a lot of people knew us before we started those parties, and a lot of people didn't. And the ones who did knew we were authentic people. We weren't just promoters. We knew our business. We produced an event that we were confident that we could do at a certain space, at a certain time, and create an experience that would be forever, something that you would never forget. And, you know, we're talking about it today, it feels like yesterday. After doing everything from bussing tables and taking orders and running plates at Le Bilboquet, where we kind of cut our teeth before we started the event business and got into our own world of hospitality, we learned everything through one of the best, and we were able to kind of curate that experience based on our background, right? And the reason why we called it Day and Night is that we never stopped. Like, we had an office in the daytime, a hospitality company, a marketing company, and then in the nighttime we would be in our restaurants. So it never stopped. You know, there was a play on the whole twin thing, and the party started at day, and it got dark. We branded it right away, because I don't know if you remember this, our first restaurant in 2007 was called Jour in the Weeds. We wanted to keep that spirit alive, but no one really knew how to say, spell, or, you know, understand what that was because it was in French. So we just changed it to English and wanted to keep it rolling, so we just called it Day and Night, and it became essentially a weekly event that everybody knew at what time of day it started and when it would end and what they could expect, which was brunch. We curated that culture from being uptown, because when we got to New York, we were Upper East Side guys for the first 5 years. So we had that like affluent jet set, people from Europe, and we were around that entire bagatelle, the founders behind it. We worked with them, we were partners with them, and we did the Pink Elephant thing. So we had the whole nightlife experience wrapped up in our hands. We wanted to create something around dining that had that nightlife effect, right? And I go back to authentic and creating that wow factor every weekend for people, whether it's for their birthday or, you know, whether they're getting divorced.
You were already in that space. And how did you go from like working in it to being like, hey, we want to start our own thing? Do you buy real estate? Like, that's a high capital investment, and there's not usually a lot of return for a while. What was the first decision? Did you decide we're going to baby step one party with one partner, or what was the kind of the vision?
We wanted to keep the expenses low. Back then, a lot of restaurants were just grand opening, grand closing, especially when the financial crisis came. A lot of people couldn't afford to stay open. So when we added the value of our event in these certain places, the owners would be like, oh, well, let's work out a deal. We would structure a management fee and basically take money off the top of our sales. And then we'd give the rest to the person that owned the venue. So it was, very prosperous for all the parties included. Now, we had one investor who eventually became our partner. Once we built it, it's true. It'll come. And the word of mouth, for instance, we knew a bunch of people before we started the event that knew we were already promoters. We were restaurant tour guys first. nightclub promoter second. So the authenticity of having a brunch, people are like, oh, these guys are restaurant guys first. So let's give them a chance. They know what they're doing. And then when we brought the party scene to the restaurant scene and connected them, that's when you came in, someone who was like, oh, who are these guys? Oh, well, they were these restaurant guys. Now they're, okay. And then you heard word of mouth, which is huge in New York, word of mouth. Back then, if I had social media, if I had TikTok or I had Instagram back in 2008, I'd probably be in a different place right now. I didn't have my first iPhone until 2013. And that's when I stopped the events. 5 years, we were pretty much the first guys that coined the term pop-up. People were like, well, what's a pop-up? We went to these events like Sundance and put on a show. We brought our brands, we brought our partners, liquor brands, whoever, and we created this atmosphere just like you were in New York City. So if we were in Sundance, it felt like you were in St. Moritz. But the word of mouth definitely was a huge marketing piece back then.
That's also something like I think a lot of people are listening to this and like, yeah, that's the dream, is to make people talk about you and do word of mouth. What do you think of things that attributed to?
It's the most impactful thing you can have. You can spend all the money in the world to get someone to come to your party, like Madonna, and have people say, oh my God, they have the coolest party in the world, and Madonna was there. But it's another thing to not have her and have people come and talk the same. And that's what we did. We didn't have celebrity DJs.
I know. How did you do it? What do you think were the factors?
We were New Yorkers first, and we brought in people that knew other people. So what was the DJ bringing to the table? What were the bottle girls bringing? They were all bringing their own people to the event, and they all loved it just as much as we did. So it wasn't like we were selling something that we couldn't back up. The value add was huge. Like what you can get at my party for $2,500 to $5,000 was insane compared to what you got at One Oak at the same price. And you couldn't get anybody in One Oak. In my party, you could bring 15 people and have $5,000. In One Oak, you could have 5 people for $5,000. So the value back then was not the same. People were like, oh, I'm not going to go to One Oak and spend $5,000 if I can go to day and night and get a better experience, and make sure that all my people get in and eat and have all these different elements that I didn't even ask for a part of it. So it was a lot of creativity, but hard work, there's no secret. But you got to keep that ball rolling. And obviously there's a tipping point, right? I knew at one point in Mercado 55, I was like, this is going to work. It wasn't right away. I was worried. But then I think it might have been the second event. Everybody came back who was there the first week, and then it doubled, and then tripled, and then I was like, oh my God, this is like out of control. Then it became to the point where the New York Times and everybody else got a piece of it, and then the press hit, and then it was just over. So it was really just us and Bagatelle kind of going head to head in the meatpacking. We were offering more or less the same product, but different types of clientele came in at that point too, because they had all the Euros on lockdown, and then we brought in this entire downtown New York that never ever went uptown. And that's another thing, our crowd, they spent money, so it wasn't, hey, pay at the door. It wasn't like that. You're waiting in line, and you couldn't pay to play at our place. You had to know someone, and then it all really kind of came down to networking.
That's one thing I think you did really, really well, which is sort of what we're coming full circle back to now, is that it's like the pay-to-play model. Would you rather be at a party that everybody could just pay the ticket price and go, or would you rather be at a party that was curated with a bunch of interesting people? There's no price tag to get you in. And you managed to do that. I also wonder, having have gone to a couple of them, you attracted a very interesting audience, but love or hate, the fact is it was a lot of good-looking people, a lot of good-looking young people. Yeah, there was a mix, but that's also, do you think that led to the hype and the tactic and the exclusivity?
Oh, yeah, that's huge. You needed to be able to have a door and create this wall and make sure that people knew that this wasn't for everyone, and that was the crowd that we had, and that's the crowd that they wanted. They didn't want the bridge and tunnel scene. They wanted the high heels and the expensive sunglasses and the crazy handbags, and making sure that everybody had that same sort of experience, and now, today's world, all of my people that were competitors back then that are still in New York are in their 40s. And what do they want now? They want exclusivity, like you mentioned. And how do you get that? You have to do that through privacy. So let me explain. If you have a country club here in, let's say, Georgia, there's one around the corner in Tuxedo Park. It's a $200,000 initiation fee to join, okay? That's crazy. But people will pay that because people want to network with like-minded individuals. Now, I'm in real estate. I would want to go there and network with, say my wife goes for brunch and she meets another wife that brunches there, and that her husband's a developer. And so, hey, Daniel's a broker. So that's how that all makes sense as a number standpoint.
Yes.
Now, right now, New York City's in the middle of private members club boom. After COVID, the owners and operators that were in their 20s and 30s 15, 20 years ago, they're now in their 40s, 45, close to 50, and now they want to be around that sort of network, right? That's why there's Almond, there's the Ned, Zero Bond, Casa Cipriani, Ches Margot, all these places, they're all private members clubs. There are restaurants with them, like the Crane Club, but they want to make sure that they can hold their clientele, charge an initiation fee, because that's normal, and give those people a sense of privacy as if they were going to a country club here and having brunch with the next guy they're going to do a deal with. And so they're going to pay that initiation. And now in New York, people are asking, well, what members club are you a part of? There's the nexus of them. All those guys got smart and they're like, okay, now we're going to charge an initiation fee to make sure that we can hold our clientele, which is the same as country clubs. And we're going to charge them a yearly service fee to stay a part of it, whether that's $3,500, $5,000, it's nothing at the end of the day. When you have money, you want to be around other people with money. It makes sense. And so people want, and it's a utility. And it just like if you pay the gas and electric in your house, you got to pay the country club fee now, because that's a utility in your life that you use to take advantage of that thing in your life that you need to fulfill. Now, you don't need to have any of these private members clubs in your back pocket, but you want to have that. You're going to pay that bill because it's a utility, and you use that service to, advance in your career, advance in your relationships, advance into your life.
You're investing in relationship capital.
Right. And so why wouldn't you want to be a part of a member program? In the grand scheme of it, it's not a lot of money. People are like, oh, it's crazy. I can't believe it costs this much, like Soho House. It's not $5,000 for initiation fee, or what is it? But they want to turn their business into a conglomerate, which now
it's public now. Yeah, it's interesting following that story as well.
It's a little watered down, but they're the pioneers.
They are. They were the first.
And they
were the first to make
beautiful locations, amazing spaces. Like the one in Nashville is mind blowing.
When I was in New York and part of Soho House, I remember thinking when you were to take a meeting and you were like, "Oh, meet me at Soho House." That was like name dropping. Like I'm a member.
Yeah.
But what I think what they did really well, and you tell me if I'm wrong, because I think you kind of leverage this as well, is they took the idea of making Exclusivity, a private club, very public. So before, private clubs were like, what goes on in them, no one ever knows, you can just be yourself in the UK, whatever. Whereas Soho House made it like, let's name drop that I'm there. You can't take photos, but yet there's photos, like.
Right. It was an operator the same age that we are now back then, and he wanted the same thing he wants back then that we want now, which is privacy, exclusivity, which back then it was scarce. It wasn't like there was 10 clubs to choose from. And Soho House was really impossible to get in the first couple of years. You had to get on the list, and then you had to pay this crazy fee. And when I was 25, 26 years old, I didn't really have that kind of money.
Right, you thought it was like super, you're like, wow, that's expensive.
Right, so but the guy who opened it, at the time, 45, 46, he had already made his money in his career. So now he wanted to start his own business. The same way the guys that I am the same age of is opening their business in New York now and creating their memberships and so on and so forth and trying to scale their model. But Soho House obviously is a huge real estate business brand too. Where their locations are at, the buildings they're in, the money they put behind their product. It's crazy. So they need to have members to pay for all that. It's crazy.
I have one last question for you that is probably, I'm really curious myself, but if you wanted to build something really magnetic like that today, not necessarily a party, but like a community, what is the one principle that you would take from your years doing that you would say, you definitely have to do this party, don't skip this step?
Right. What I would say is that you want to create influence that will last a lifetime. And how does that work? You need to be a part of something that will resonate years down the road, even after it's gone. And I think that the way to do that is have that brand equity that you're building never leave you, whether it's alive or dead. And when I say that is, if you create something that people will never forget, then that's priceless. That's got to go to places and you can come back from that at any time you want. So if you want to make an impression, then I would say that create something that will have a lasting experience, a lasting memory for a lifetime.
I love that. It's not about making luxury, it's about making memories and making people feel something.
memories. You have to remember that that was like the best ever. You know, we did that every weekend, one of our things was we had to be better than the week before. And how do we do that? And it was stressful because sometimes the people that we needed there weren't there for us to make it better than the week before. So we had to like get creative and I would say just instill that memory that you're never going to lose and you're going to cherish forever and kind of create that every single day or night, no pun intended, for your customer, you know, and that'll last forever. Whether AI eats everything up tomorrow and we never have another brand to look at for as long as we live, you'll know how it made you feel.
Yes, I love that.
I remember the first time I got my pair of Jordans, I was like, oh, and they're still around today, but you don't want to forget how it made you feel.
That's everything. I think that's what you captured so well. It's not like things I got, like it's not about exclusivity, it's about emotional design. It's not about luxury, it's about memory making.
It's an emotional,
Yeah.
It's an emotion. Yeah, so there you said it for me. I'll try to find the word, but the memory is the key.
No, this has been a pleasure.
How do you do that? You have to do it through emotion. So the principle is emotion.
The principle is emotion, yes. You're an emotional architect.
100%. Like people won't remember what color, your bathroom was, but they'll remember that they had dinner at your restaurant and it was the most amazing night ever because you created that.
Like I will always remember when they send out like a complimentary glass of champagne or like a dessert. Like I don't know why it's so silly. It's that little thing that you just feel so hospitable.
It's important. That's all part of the script. Yep. Well, thanks for having me. That was a great.
Of course. No, thank you so much.
It's great to see you.
You too, Daniel. Say hi to your brother for me too.
I will. Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks. Bye-bye, honey.